System D is not controversial enough, so they decided to go all in and build in an age verification feature. So, for those who don't know, System D is, I'm going to let Jonah explain what it is better because I truly don't know how to explain it.
System D, like at its core, is an init system, which is basically the process that starts all of the other software on your computer. System D is also a whole project with a lot more ambitions than just being an init system. And they make a lot of different software that basically tries to replace a lot of basic operating system components with System D developed ones, which is why I think they are a pretty divisive project in the Linux space.
It's used by a lot of major Linux distros. They have added a field to the JSON user records that is simply birth date. And it is what it says on the tin. Now, when you make a new user, you can choose to enter their birthday. The good news is this is totally optional. They've specifically said this is not a policy engine. This is not an API. We just define the field so that it's standardized if people want to store the date, but it's entirely optional.
It's an interesting change to make. You can definitely see like their reasoning behind it, because I think if age verification is going to come to Linux, for example, it would be quite annoying if there were 1 million different implementations of it that the rest of the system has to integrate with. But I'm not sure if this makes a ton of sense for it to be here instead of in your desktop environment. And also, I don't necessarily think that age verification is kind of a lost cause. And I think it's unfortunate to see it being adopted so readily in Linux, because in certain projects, I wish that the open source community would take a bit more of a stand. But everything has just become very corporate, especially in the Linux space. And there's a lot of compliance in advance. So it's very tricky to kind of keep with solid ethics. I'm not a fan of this change. There's a lot of arguments for and against this. I don't know like what the point of this is really, because if you can just set your age to whatever you want yourself, I don't know why this would be trusted by other software. Even if there isn't a huge issue with how this specific thing is implemented right now, we are just kind of laying the foundation for more anti-user systems and more problematic systems to be implemented on Linux in the future, which is not a path that I think we should be going down. So that's my main concern with this whole story, pretty much. If it can always be set arbitrarily forever, like I don't understand what the point of this would be in the first place, right? To me, the intent of this feature is clearly to eventually have some sort of much more verifiable way to set this field that won't be as user controlled. And I think that that is dangerous to have. It doesn't make sense to me that that will always be the case. I think that the fact that they're doing that is concerning.
We always talk about how like companies and services have to follow laws, right? But I do agree that it was really disappointing to see them just roll over with no fight, no nothing. I think if we took more of that attitude of like, let's have a seat at the table and try to steer this, I think ironically it would become a self-fulfilling prophecy in a good way, a good kind of irony, where like, because we're participating, we might have more attention to be able to draw attention to these issues and point out like, this is why age verification doesn't work. These are all the problems with age verification, the knock-on effects that are going to make things worse. And we might end up actually being able to do something about it. But yeah, I think definitely just, I know we've called this out in the past with other stories, but just this attitude of like, oh, well, this doesn't affect me, so I don't care because I know how to get around it. Congratulations, it's coming for Linux. It's coming for the things that we use. We can't have that attitude forever because eventually we're going to run out of places that are not touched by this. Or at very least, they're only going to apply to like a handful of people that are really tech savvy and know how to write their own code. And now we have privacy for 1% of people instead of, right now where it's what, 10%. I don't know. I'm just making up numbers. But my point being is like, I think standing up and trying to do something gives us more power and it builds momentum to the point where maybe I will be wrong, which for the record, these are the kind of things I'm happy to be wrong about, where it's like, hey, we were able to roll back age verification because we took such an active role that we were able to spread awareness and attention.